Hey, thanks for checking us out. Laura with the Lerman team here, and I am here with Chris Feazell. He is one of my clients, and we are going to talk a little bit about our transaction. He was a first-time home buyer. We went under contract for 2 houses, so that was a little bit crazy.
A little bit.
Mr. Jimmy Jones.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, Jimmy Jones.
He was fantastic. So we'll go ahead and get started.
I will say, well, with the first transaction, there wasn't really a hard part until it all came crumbling down.
Until the heartbreak.
Yeah, because it was easy. Like everything lined up. I mean, the stars really aligned. Like the seller was really willing to bend on a lot of things. He had offered the furniture inside the house, which was previously an Airbnb. Laura had negotiated all the furniture for a very low price that was to be exchanged after the sale. And it was good. So up until the heartbreak of we are not going to close, there's this huge tax lien issue. It was a great transaction. Now with this transaction, the hardest part was I loved this house so much because it felt like a home. It had everything in a home that I wanted. It had the covered parking and all of that. And it was a decent flip. But the inspection report came back and it was really hard to decide like if the issues that we found were worth me inheriting or if we just needed to terminate on the house. The only thing about terminating on the house was my interest rate would go up because rates had went up. You know, the lender was kind enough to honor the rate from the first house. So it was just a really hard decision. And so we decided to terminate. What I did not expect to happen was the sellers to come back and say, oh, what are your concerns?
Yeah.
We'll fix all of that.
And they did.
And they did. They did a good job too. And they sent videos of everything that they had fixed. And so we were comfortable. And Laura was like, I mean, the only other issue is the electrical. And if you feel like you got that handled, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't buy this house. Our concerns are going to be addressed. So I didn't expect it to happen. What about you? What do you think?
So for me, the hardest part was making those phone calls. Chris, I'm sorry. I got to tell you, when I got the call from my closing attorney, the closing attorney was so angry because he felt like the seller was trying to make one over on everybody. He was so upset. He was so frustrated. And he was not the nicest or happiest in communicating at that moment because what the seller was doing was putting us all at risk.
Correct.
And that was hard, right? It's not easy when you're working with a first-time home buyer to have to call and say, well, I'm sorry, there's $60,000 worth of liens on this property the seller can't cover. So we can't buy the house or we have to come up with the money. They become your problem. And $60,000 was way too much. My biggest aha on this one was the water issue after closing. So normally I would say we found this house. It was fantastic. We had so much fun. Loved working with Chris. He's super fun. We had a great time the whole time. But after we closed, his washing machine started gurgling every time. He would wash clothes, and then when he would flush the toilet, he would get a little bit of bubbling back up in the toilet. And so we found out there were some issues after closing. And I would say my biggest aha is on these older houses, even if the trees are gone in the front yard, we're still scoping the plumbing because it was a little bit expensive. But the good news was we had saved a whole bunch of money. The sellers had paid closing. We got a few things from the seller. So the money was there to fix it. And I think that, being educated, knowing what you can come across, and then having an action plan at the end was good. We had somebody that could get in quickly and fix it. And I would say within a week, you were back to normal.
Yeah, once it was fixed, I mean, the guy came 2 days later. We were good. We were golden. Like he came on a Thursday. He said he would come on Saturday. It rained. He came on Sunday. And I was golden by like Sunday lunch.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it was good.
And Sean still asks about you.
Oh,
how's
listen,
Chris?
Sean is funny. I love Sean. He knows what he's doing. He gets it quick. But that's interesting that you say that because I didn't think about that because that's a memory I put at the very back of my brain.
Hit it.
Yes, but that was the big surprise. I didn't expect that. But to Laura's point, the lesson learned from Sean was anytime you get an older house, go ahead and pay the additional money for the inspection to get the sewage line inspected. Because he said if we had done that, we would have found the issue, which I feel like they would have fixed.
Yeah, and they probably would have fixed. The sellers wouldn't have had a choice to fix it. And with no trees in the front yard and no sign of stumps or anything like that, we kind of felt like we were clear. So
yeah, it wasn't a reason to think that. Yeah.
That was the biggest aha for me as a realtor.
I know. I forgot about that. So that's the realtor lens. That's definitely, I wasn't even thinking, but you are so right. That's the big lesson.
Yes, that was the big lesson for me.
So Laura, I have a person that I know who was working with Laura to sell and buy potentially. And I am very close with this person. So I tagged along to a few showings and I met Laura that way.
And we had a good time.
We had a good time.
Me and Micah didn't have as good a time as me and Chris. I think me and Chris were talking. We started talking about disc profiles and all kind of fun stuff.
Listen, I went because he loved Laura. He talked about Laura so much. And the things he told me, I was like, this sounds like this is a really good person. She seems really knowledgeable. But I was like, I'm going to have to meet her. She's like, so then, yes. So I came and I met him. I met her and we talked a little while. We got back in the car. So I'm like, I really like her now. I like that Laura. I like Laura. And so when it came time for me to say I wanted to buy something rather than continue to rent, Laura was the person I really wanted to go with. And all the stars aligned and we started working together.
Yes, so, I was very excited to get the phone call.
I was excited to work with you.
Well, me too, because we had so much fun. We function, I think, very similar in how we think. And our profiles are very, very different, Mr. High I, High D. But I think that our differences were fun to combine, and where we align, and it was a good time.
It was. And Laura, to me, was a good educator. So like being a first-time home buyer, like I was saying earlier, there were things about the transaction that I just didn't know. And I didn't really have people that I could ask the questions to because some people just hadn't had that experience either. So we were able to build trust because if I had questions, Laura would take the time. And if it took us an hour conversation on the phone, it took us an hour conversation on the phone. But she made sure that I understood every step of the process. And I think that her explaining that to me made me feel a whole lot more comfortable and it made me trust a whole lot more. So that made for the transactions to be better too because I felt like I had a friend. Helping me and representing me.
We're best friends now.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to Pikes after this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to pick some gardenias.
We love gardenias.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for one, Laura helps me. Well, first of all, her first question was, "What do you want in the house? Like, what are your what do we want to say?
What are your 5 must-haves?
5 must-haves.
And then what do you not want?
Yeah, what do you not want?
That's just as important. Just as important.
And so that helped me to be more intentional about houses that I looked at and looked for. And I definitely think that if I didn't work with the learning team, I wouldn't have found the house that I wanted because I wouldn't have had someone I trusted. I wouldn't have been looking at houses intentionally. I wouldn't have walked in houses and started bouncing on floors and trying to see, whatever.
Turning on lights.
Exactly.
On the water, closing the doors.
Asking the right questions, pretending not to be that interested in the home in front of the other listing agent. So yeah, I definitely don't think I would have found the house that I loved if I had not worked with the learning team.
Yes, and it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was easy.
I will say it was stressful for me, but it was fun. Like looking back, I was only stressed because I didn't have control of certain things. But it was fun. Like looking back, we had some good times.
We did.
Because some things came up. And I'm dramatic. But Laura is very realistic. She's like, listen, here's our real options. This is what we can do. There's no need to freak out. I'm just like, oh, Laura, I'm just so outdone. Like, I'm literally leaned over, like, oh, my stomach is in knots. And Laura was like, well, here are your options. Like, just think about which one you want to do. Because this is all we have to do. And I loved it because they helped bring me back down to earth.
Well, and that's our goal. Our goal is to make sure that the transaction, I always say that it's your job to take it personal, and it's my job to take it as a business.
Let's talk about that, too. So Laura schooled me early on that it is not safe to make these transactions personal at first because there's a lot that can go wrong. Yes. And I think that kind of like had me in the back of my head, like, okay.
No emotion.
It could not be how I want it to be. And knowing that helped. But Laura was absolutely optimistic all the time. She's like, this is a business deal. Like there are lots of houses out there. If one doesn't work, there's something else that fit the specifications as well. And so that helped. Like, that really helped. I don't think I would have gotten it from another realtor, to be honest with you. Because I'm a lot to deal with. I really am.
He's amazing.
Oh. Absolutely. I would definitely do it again. Like as much of the ups and downs we had, which was never really us. It was always the seller or something in the transaction. I would definitely do it again. It was exciting. I just wish I was a little less tense and stressed. I would have enjoyed it.
You will be the next time.
Well, we will have a next time. We don't know what the next transaction will be like, but we're going to have another one.
Yeah.
Whatever I do in the future with real estate, as long as Laura is in the business, this is who I will be going to. This is who I'm going to turn all of my friends to. People who ask me questions, which I do now. I tell them about Laura. So yes, I would definitely do it again. 100%.
Love it. Building wealth through real estate.
Listen, because my retirement account at work is like, okay.
We're going to make it big.
We are.
We're going to make it big. We're going to have a couple million in houses before you're retired. You got plenty of years.
I like that.
I love it.
Me too.
Sweet. Let's go to Pikes.
Let's get some gardenia.